You had a sister.
Mm-hmm.
She passed away.
Mm-hmm.
How did she pass?
My sister, LaTanya Dawnese Allen, was in a tragic car accident, and
Completely unexpected.
unexpected, 21 years old, my only sibling. And interestingly enough, since we're talking about ministry, while I still grieve, while I will forever be in that process, that experience and many others gave me the sensitivity that I needed to be able to minister to people that are in tough spots. And I'm not talking about I lost a job, which is a tough spot.
Sure.
But I'm talking about when you're in a situation that's permanent, or you have an illness that the doctors can do nothing about. When you've lost someone that you can't get back. It could be a relationship. It could be
Divorce.
Divorce. I don't think I would have had that type of sensitivity to really provide people not just a bunch of scriptures, but to be able to get on the floor with people, grieve with them, cry with them, and also do something that I think this generation of ministries have lost. Not always have the answers.
Wow.
Not always have to come up with the fix-it statements.
Wow.
But to really be able to sit with people and say, yeah, this is difficult, this is rough. But one thing I do know, we can get through this together. I wouldn't have been there had I not experienced the pain and the depth of loss that I've experienced. And so, going back to what you started with, that Sunday.
How did the loss of your sister affect the family that was your only sibling?
Mm-hmm. It completely destroyed my family. My parents got a divorce. I was estranged from my father for so many different reasons that were related. Well, a lot of it was really connected to my sister's passing, and I think our inability as a family to communicate and to really know what to do with the grief.
Yeah.
And particularly black families, what do? We lose someone, and people do one of two things. They either just try to continue to move on, which tends to develop dysfunction if we don't have the tools to know how to move forward, or we just kind of fall apart.
Shut down.
Shut down, fall away from each other. And that's what happened with my family. That's what happened.
Well, Sunday I came, you came out and you said, we just had a great time in the service thus far. And I went back to my office, you said. You said, I went back to my office, and I've been estranged from my dad for so many years, and my dad was sitting in my office. How long had it been since you...
10 years. 10 years.
Since you saw him?
Since I saw my father at my sister's funeral. Yeah. And so to walk in my office, it's very interesting. When you go into pastoral ministry, you have to be prepared to live out what you teach. And so if you're teaching reconciliation, if you're teaching forgiveness, if you're teaching family, you do a whole series on family.
Sure.
We preachers, do a whole series on family, and we're the experts on family in terms of telling other people what to do. It's a very different thing to be prepared to have to live out what you teach and what you believe and what you preach. And so that was my day.
Let's back up. Did you ever come out to your family that you were gender loving?
I did.
When?
When?
What age were you?
I would say maybe about 10 or so years ago, right around the passing of my sister.
Was it before she passed or after?
After.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you understand what this is when you have, our family experiences a tragedy. What tends to happen, all of the issues in the family.
Come out.
Everything comes out. Whatever issues siblings have been having,
Yeah.
whatever family secrets have existed, a lot of times tend to show up. And that's exactly what happened with me. As a matter of fact, not only did I come out, I left the church. So I thought,
Yeah.
you know, you can never really leave God. But my hurt, my pain, and my frustration, my own issues and my struggles surfaced to the top.
Wow.
And I went through that process of sharing with my family my truth.
What was their reaction?
It's interesting. I had some people that celebrated me. I made assumptions that I should not have made about how certain people would respond.
Right.
I had others that didn't know what to do with my truth.
Wow.
I learned a phenomenal lesson in that. Whatever your truth is, whatever it is, positive, negative, whatever the truth is, that number one, it is essential that you can get to a place of maturity where you can be authentic and honest with the people you love. Number two is to not feel the need to manage people's responses with your authenticity or your truth, whatever it is. I think sharing your truth with people has to be more about you and less about their response, less about how they feel. It's okay to be concerned. Of course, these are people you love.
Right.
But I learned a valuable lesson. And I say this because even the people, my own mother, who struggled at the beginning, because I got to a place where I learned my job is not to manage how she's responding to this. My job is to love her. My job is to be authentic. As a Christian, my job is to tell the truth because I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
And to let the Spirit of God do the rest. And because of that, my own mother, sanctified, holy, joined my church several years ago.
Wow.
Not because of me, but because, as I'm talking about, I allowed her to go through her process, and she experienced love on a whole nother level that helped her to understand what this ministry was about and what the ministry of reconciliation and the ministry of love is about.
So she came here on a Sunday. When I knew that I was going to do the interview, I decided to come and see what you guys were all about for myself. And I happened to come on a Sunday where there was baptisms going on, and you were dunking them and pulling them up, and it was love filled the room. And I was watching that, and you came out after all of that was done, praise and worship had started, and you said, "This is the first time my dad is here." And you were real pastoral. I saw you. Your shoulders were tight. And he came up on stage, and you gave him a hug, and the hug that you gave him, you patted him. So almost a bit uncomfortable. You patted him, and I looked and I saw it. I said, yeah, he's uncomfortable. But then your dad started whispering in your ear, and I saw the uncomfortable pat change. I saw the pat become slower. You started listening, and your eyes squinched real tight, and then I saw you grab onto his clothes, and then I saw you pull on his clothes. And I saw that whole pastor thing left, and I saw you as the son. What was that moment like? Did I see that clearly? Or
You did. However, I do want to say one of the wonderful things about this ministry, I'm the pastor and the founder of it, but I'm still a member here. I'm still a part of this family. And one thing that has always been very important to me is to let the people know that I am in the process with you.
Wow.
I am just as human, if not more, than you are. My preaching style tries to convey that.
Yeah.
That I have just as much work to do, so when I'm preaching, I'm just inviting you into a conversation that God is having with me, about me. I put myself on the front pew. And so, my job is to lead and to be a pastor, to be the father of this house. It's also okay to be vulnerable. So I was uncomfortable, and I didn't feel actually that it was a problem to be uncomfortable.
No.
Because the room knows that I'm just as human as everybody else,
Yeah.
and that this is my process. Because, you know, I could have also chosen not to say anything. It was a private moment. My father's in the office. I didn't have to...
You didn't have to bring him out?
Well, I could have brought him out, but not say that my father's here.
Yeah.
But I knew that it would be disingenuous to my integrity as a pastor to not invite people who are already invited into my life to some degree, to not invite them into that process.
Yeah.
I brought him on stage and hugged him,
Yeah,
which was a vulnerable moment. And I was uncomfortable because we hadn't talked, and there's a lot to talk about.
In 10 years.
Yeah.
A decade.
Yeah. But I also knew that that was my moment for healing. And healer, heal thyself. You know, I needed to show the congregation that not only is this moment happening for me, but this moment can happen for you. That's what this church is about. That's what this ministry is about.
It's good.
The calling that God has placed on my heart with Vision is helping people walk in their gifts. So from this, I have started a company, and I am absolutely blessed. I have a play that I'm working with.
Okay.
And God told me that you are to bless the artistic people in this church. So I started a company totally out of the background that I was in production. And now I have a play that I have 5 members of this church in this play.
Wow.
God has told me you are to bless this church with your gifts. And so what this church has done for me is really said, you have a gift, and this is how you can use your gift. And I'm actually going to be talking and speaking to the new members group. And when we bring new members in, we had over 25 new members last Sunday.
That's one Sunday.
In one Sunday. So the message is powerful, powerful. The new members class that we're going to be talking and working with the people is how to use those gifts. A lot of times people go into a church and they join a church and they get lost in the church. But in this church, we take them, we nurture them, we identify gifts, we encourage them to participate and go to the next level and elevate their lives.
What's your vision for your life? Where are you going? Where will you be?
My vision for my life is I have always ran away from the number one responsibility of my life was owning my own business.
Wow.
And I ran away from that for so many years because I didn't want the responsibility. And then it was going to take away from me riding in my luxury cars and buying the Chanel and the Gucci and this and that. But God had put me in a tight space, in a corner to where I had to let all that go and go for my vision. You know, I was working in salons and they just never worked out right. You know, I was being mistreated, and I was tired of fighting back and all that because that's not who I am. So the only way, I can have control of that is on my own business. And the more I started, trying to get my own business, everything that went wrong could have went wrong. And I came in every Sunday, and I cried and it seemed like everything Pastor said, Pastor said, as soon as you get closer, he said, you just have to crawl, you just have to walk. He said, but don't ever give up the faith and the vision. And I applied that to myself. It was hard. It was hard, I didn't believe. I'm like, okay, I'm still, I'm going through the fire, but okay. But,
Have you fulfilled that?
I did, actually.
You have your own. You
Yes.
have your own salon.
Yes, I have my own salon. Well, I'm getting ready to do the demolition and everything on the salon Monday.
It grieves me of how many people missed their purpose and their calling because they were stuck wrestling a question that was already answered. And so now, at 35, 40, 45, 50, they're depressed, strung out on alcohol and drugs because they have been so beaten down and so stuck because they've not been able to get beyond the question that's already answered and fulfill their purpose and mission. Wow. And so I'm glad that we have a place where people can come, be reconciled, and really move into fulfilling their purpose.
Their vision.
And their vision, that's right.